buenos días y bienvenido al Foro Fronterizo Ambiental México-Estados Unidos, organizado por el NADBank. Good morning and welcome to the U.S.-Mexico Border Environmental Forum organized by the NADBank. We're very happy to have all of you join us today. This event wouldn't take place without you being here, your interest, and your support for different projects along the border and initiatives. I'd like to play a quick video about NADBank just to give everybody here and at home an understanding of who we are, what we do, and then we'll get into the program. Thank you very much. I'd like to call Ambassador Salazar to come up and take his place here at the podium. On stage, Calixto, I would like to call you up, please, to come and take your position up here. And Embajador Moctezuma, también si puedes pasar, por favor. It's my great honor to introduce the Managing Director of the North American Development Bank, Calixto Mateos. He was named Managing Director of the bank after having served as Deputy Managing Director from 2017 to 2019 and as Director of Risk Management and Control from 2014 to 2017. Prior to joining NADBank, he gained more than 25 years of experience at the Mexican Central Bank, Banco de Mexico, where he held various positions from 1988 to 2014. His last position at the central bank was as Director of Institutional Liaisons. I'd like to call Calixto up to introduce for his welcoming remarks. Calixto?
Well, first of all, welcome. And it's great to have you here. It's an honor to be hosting this event. I really hope you enjoyed the video. It shows a bit of what we have been contributing for the border and what NADBank is about. Uh, Buenos días y bienvenidos a la 26ª edición del Foro Fronterizo Ambiental Estados Unidos, México, organizado por nosotros en NADBank. I will deliver my rest of remarks in English as to provide a better way for the translation that's done. Good morning and welcome to the 26th Annual U.S.-Mexico Border Environmental Forum hosted by NADBank. This forum has evolved over the years and would not be taking place today if it not for the contributions of so many, including the Texas General Office, who founded the event in 1994, representatives of the 10 U.S.-Mexico border states, keynote speakers, panelists, sponsors, bank staff, consultants, and of course, you. The incredible show of support for this year's event truly illustrates the relevance of discussing the U.S.-Mexico relationship and sustainable development for the betterment of the border. Mil gracias a todos. The theme for this year's forum is creating a greener and more prosperous border. What a perfect topic for NADBank to highlight, discuss, and contribute to, especially considering that the bank's mission is to preserve, protect, and enhance the environment and quality of life for the U.S.-Mexico border residents. NADBank, similar to this forum, has also evolved over the last 25 plus years. It is my hope that with each of you as friends, supporters, and contributors, we can help the bank continue to evolve and to improve the lives of the residents of the border for the next 25 years. NADBank is proud to once again host the forum by bringing together local and state officials, private sector developers, academics, and ESG and energy innovators from the US and Mexico. We provide a platform for the exchange of ideas and collaboration between the two countries in a way that will bring the most impact to the border region in the areas of environment, economic development, and tackling climate change. Our keynote speakers include el embajador mexicano a los Estados Unidos, el embajador Esteban Moctezuma, the U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Ken Salazar, el gobernador de Nuevo León, Samuel García, la senadora de México, Gina Cruz Blackledge, Congressman Tony Gonzalez, San Antonio City Councilwoman Ana Saldoval, and Ken Roberts from World City, who focuses on international trade statistics. Before I go any further, I would also like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, Kansas City Southern Railroad, IBC Bank, City of San Antonio, UK Export Finance, Avisa Partners, Cachoca Bases and Newton, and Salduas International Bridge, Overland Architects and Urban Design, Source Global, Holland and Knight, Rich Mueller, Goldman Sachs, and McDermott Will and Emery. Please join me in recognizing the sponsors with a round of applause. Finally, I would like to highlight that the ideal location for today's forum here in San Antonio, which has become an adopted hometown for me and many of the bank staff. Thank you again for joining us today in person or virtually. We have a great program for you, so let's get started. Now, I'd like to invite my good friend, Jerry Schrebel from IBC Bank, who will introduce you as Ambassador Ken Salazar. Jerry, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you, Calixto. Two neighbors can really resolve their challenges or find their future unless there's communication. Those words were recited by Ambassador Ken Salazar in Washington, D.C. in a recent meeting at the Wilson Center that we were present. So this morning, I have the honor of introducing our ambassador, the United States to Mexico, Ken Salazar. And I drew the short straw, ambassador. So, uh, you indulge me in allowing to say some great words of a man that I've come to know in the last year as a man of vision, a man who really will take an idea and will not rest until it's executed. And that is exactly the type of public servants that we have today. So we're fortunate today in introducing to you our first keynote speaker this morning, Ken Salazar, who was sworn in as ambassador of the United States to Mexico in September of 2021. And in October of 2021, he was already on the border, talking with each member of both sides, communities on both sides, really got to work very swiftly. He's a man of vision, public service, who really has taken on a role not only of working with everyone, private sector as well as the public sector, because he had that great experience when he served in Congress as a senator, as a man who really reached across the aisle to work with both Republicans as well as members of his party, Democrats, to get things done, something that we still are looking forward to it today. And so he's taught us the way. He's leading us with his drive and tenacity of getting things done. He's the right man for the United States to be in Mexico today as our ambassador. And I can recite so many great words to share with you about him, other than to say that he is a gran amigo de Mexico, but he's more important. He really serves every one of us in making sure that the bilateral and binational roles that he has uh, fundamentally is to create great goodwill and strengthen the bonds that we have between our countries. So let me introduce to you the Honorable Ken Salazar, United States Ambassador to Mexico.
Thank you very much, Jerry. So first of all, let me say to NADBank, muchas gracias, Calixio, John, all of you who are here, part of NADBank. This is a gathering, but it's not the first one you have had. NADBank's been around since 1994, created by the United States and Mexico. So my request of all of you is that now some 22, do the math, almost 30 years later, that you make this with all of the participants here, perhaps the most historic of all gatherings of all of you on both the US and the Mexico side. I want to just say thank you. I'm going to have some comments and I'm going to give you an assignment because I want some ideas. But I want to say thank you to Ambassador Esteban Moctezuma and his team. Let's give him a round of applause because he works very hard. Jerry says, I've had a few posts in my life where this gentleman has been a senator of the nation. He's been Secretary of essentially Homeland Security, Education, and the list goes on. He's held more posts than almost anybody else, and truly one of the historic figures of our times in Mexico. And he's here with a number of his team, Ruben and Jimena and so many others. So thank you, Ambassador, for lifting up the voice of the bicentennial and the relationship between the United States and Mexico. To my wonderful friends, mi amigo y mi amiga de Laredo, Nuevo Laredo, que tienen la lámpara enseñándonos cómo se hace en una manera de realidad. Carmen Lila Canturosa, Pete Sainz, por favor, de pies, vamos a darle un aplauso porque ustedes nos están enseñando muchísimo. Oh, is our CELA commissioner here, Adriana? ¿Dónde está Adriana? Levántate, Adriana. Y Maria Elena Ginera. I got to talk about these two. Stay standing, stay standing. Fine. You guys all know the drought, la sequía, que tiene al río Colorado y al río Grande del Cuello. Lo ven. Ellas las dos, por la primera vez, dos mujeres en estas posiciones, representan a los Estados Unidos y a México. Tienen un trabajo grandísimo y muy difícil. Un aplauso para las dos. Sila, IBCW. I know Sandag is here, Tijuana. Please stand, Colleen, from all the work you're doing down in Otay Mesa Dos. It's going to get done. Going to get done. Y I thought I saw Rogelio Rivera. ¿Dónde está Rogelio? Rogelio, levántate. Mira, we don't do any of this. The United States of America doesn't do any of this unless we're doing it with Mexico. If there's a lesson of 200 years of this border, if we're going to make it work, it has to happen with both governments working. Here in a few days, I think it's been announced, we will be in Monterrey. And there we'll have Secretary Blinken and the Cabinet of the United States meeting with the Cabinet and the members of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. And we're going to be lifting up is the economic relationship writ large between the United States and Mexico. And some people pay a lot of attention to what happens at the presidential level and the comments that are made there. But the work takes place every day with people like Rogelio. Let's give him a round of applause. To Rogelio de la O, le das un abrazo. Thank you so much. So, I have a speech, but maybe I'm gonna give it a little bit of it. So first, I think here this morning, one of the things that we ought to talk about in a very general sense, you ought to have in mind, where are we and where are we going? Where's the United States of America and Mexico going? Is there alignment between the leaders of our two nations, or is there not? Do we have a common vision on where we are going, notwithstanding some of the very difficult issues that we're navigating today? You can take USTR, USMCA, renewable energy, climate, all of those things. So the question really becomes for us, where are we going? Well, I can tell you there's alignment between the leaders of North America. Speaking on behalf of President Joe Biden, he joined President Lopez Obrador on July 12th in the White House. And then they issued an 11-point declaration in 2 pages, 11 paragraphs. And there we cover everything. We cover the importance of the democratic values that underscore the United States of America and what we stand for. President Lopez Obrador spoke about those as well. We talk about the importance of USMCA as a durable framework that will create this most powerful economic union in the world in North America. We talked about the importance of renewable energy and climate and creating a greener and cleaner North America. They declared, proclaimed, and these are more than statements. These are, and I would ask Calexio, you and your team to get everybody here a copy of that July 12th 2-page plus declaration, because that's what sets the roadmap. And that roadmap addresses some of the very difficult issues that we face in our day, including a broken border, including migration, including the tough issues of security which we deal with every day. So when you ask the question, where are we and where are we going? There's alignment between the two nations at the highest levels on where we got to go. Now, it's one thing to proclaim it, put it in writing. It's another thing to actually make it happen. And that's what this gathering really is so much about. That there's an opportunity here, Calexio and Ambassador Moctezuma, to really put some flesh on the bones of what we got to do. And so I hope that's what this conference results in. Now, I was looking at the literature. North American Development Bank. Look at the back page. Who has this? I think John already threw his away, but he has it memorized. Oscar del Cuete. I'm going to take down, well, I'm going to be at the groundbreaking of the new railroad crossing, Laredo, Nuevo Laredo, Kansas City Southern. Take a look at that map. Back. What do we have there? Well, you have all these projects up and down the border. From Tijuana, San Diego, all the way to Matamoros, Brownsville. California and Baja California, 27 on the US side, 35 on the Baja side. Arizona, 25, Sonora, 33, Chihuahua, 34, Texas throughout, 76, Coahuila, 10, Nuevo León, 11, Tamaulipas, 25. There's a lot there. I asked Calexico on the way over, what are the big projects? We're talking about Laredo, Nuevo Laredo, and I'll make a quick comment about that. But he was also talking about Tijuana and the collector system and the efforts, which are a joint effort to try to clean up the Tijuana River, which has bedeviled California and the beaches there and Tijuana and the Mexican government for a very long time. But there's projects like that up and down the border. So I'm going to ask a question that I was talking to Maria about. I was talking to Rick and to the Nature Conservancy. Where's my Nature Conservancy friend? Please stand. Nature Conservancy State Director, right, from Texas. Okay, yes, let's give her a round of applause. They do great work. They're helping us, working with the Mexican government in deforestation and saving La Selva Maya, the big pulmón. But they're doing lots of other things all around the world. So here's my question. How do we organize this? So this is just not dependent on Carmen, Lilia, and Lila, Carmen, and Pete. How do you do this up and down the border? Where's the plan? Where's the roadmap? Let me tell you how it happened in Laredo, Nuevo Laredo. So I'm going to ask, you're going to have a little piece of paper that I'm going to ask Steve and Mission Mexico to give around to everybody, because I want an idea on how we organize this effort. And I want it in a sentence. I don't need a paragraph. You know, should we, NADBank gives grants of $500,000. Should we have a nonprofit organization like the Nature Conservancy give us what this roadmap is along the 2,000-mile border? I had this conversation with the University of Texas, El Paso, President Heather Wilson. Should we have the university community do it? Something that I talked to Maria about. Is that a role for the International Commission? Is it a role that maybe a very powerful company like Kansas City Southern that is trying to connect up the supply chains of Canada, US, and Mexico, that maybe as a matter of their goodwill, they could reach into their pockets as part of their community social responsibility and put in a couple $1,000,000 so that we can have somebody design this plan in a month or two? I don't know. What's the best way to organize this? That's my question. So I want everybody to give me an idea on that. But let me before you start writing, Jerry. Jerry will give me a book. What's the name of your boss? Neil, the guy, the chairman? Dennis Nixon. Dennis Nixon for years. I think even back when I was a United States Senator, would walk the halls of Congress, the halls of the Senate, with his book on the modern border, how we deal with real solutions for migration, how we invest in the border to create the modern infrastructure and technology. Is it being done? A little bit. But we got to do better. We got to do better as the United States. Mexico has to do better as well. Question, how do we organize this? There's now some money in the Colorado River system because of the president's initiative on climate. Some between the bipartisan infrastructure package and the climate package that he just signed into law, there's somewhere $3-4 billion to deal with the realities of the Colorado River, the drought, and investments. How that will be parceled out is still to be told. As far as I could tell, there's nothing for the 1,000-mile plus along the Texas border. Question, why? I don't know. But I ask, are we organized? So let me come back to Laredo, Nuevo Laredo, if I may, and you tell me, Calexio, when my time is up, and I'll stop. So when I came to Laredo, Nuevo Laredo, some 8-9 months ago, mayor had me over to her house, along with the mayor of Laredo. So there we were, Carmen Lila Cantu Rosa. She's my cousin, I think, because Cantu, Pete's like my brother. Anyway, we went over there and with Mayor Carmen Lila gives me a book about this big. She says, I have one issue. My biggest issue is the dirty water of the Rio Grande. I've been working on it. I've been a new mayor. Been working on it. We've been working on it for a long time. Can you help? So I don't know. Talked to Pete. He said, well, we're doing some things on the Laredo side. Here, I won't go through all the details, but a couple months later, we were back in Laredo. I think I've been there now probably 4 or 5 times. And we brought together a team of people with the help and leadership of the 2 mayors, with the assistance of NADBank and others. Now, you will hear about it later. But there is a plan with some specificity, with some support from Washington, including a key member of Congress, to fund this project that's going to create a 10-kilometer binational river project with numerous projects along this place. Now, those of you who go to Nuevo Laredo, Laredo, and you know its history, you know the river has been abandoned. You look at the Mexican side, salt cedar, other invasive species that are sucking up the precious resource of water, a place where criminality visits the river. You look at it on the United States side, and it looks like it's a permanent construction site because almost everything has been taken down for security purposes. So they put together a plan, along with a wonderful consulting group, that now looks at 10 kilometers of the river. And in its time, it's going to bring the kind of energy back to Laredo, Nuevo Laredo, that you see here on the Riverwalk in San Antonio. That's why the mayor of San Antonio, the San Antonio River Authority, has been right there at the table helping to make this a reality. That's why the 2 mayors, along with Jerry and the team, were in Washington, D.C., briefing Secretary Helen and everybody at the Department of Interior on what's happening in Laredo, Nuevo Laredo. Night before last and the whole day before, they were with the Mexican government. They were with Hacienda. They were with all the other agencies, letting them know how important this project is. And that's why, if you look at that July 12th statement by the 2 presidents, there's a couple sentences in there, a paragraph, in fact, that refers to the border, what we got to do in the border. But it shouldn't take 2 mayors who wanted to change the future of their community forever to come along once in a generation to try to do this. We got to have a more comprehensive plan on what we're going to do with the border. And it includes what NADBank is proposing here. They called, I think in their video, creating a greener, more prosperous future. Creating a greener, more prosperous future. Now, let's go to the reality of the US-Mexico relationship along the border. Now, everybody, I think here would say, we have some things that are good. We have the arteries of commerce that flow across Mexico to the US, US to Mexico, that will never change. But is it where anybody wants it to be? Whether you're a conservative Republican that wants to build a wall that's 50 feet high, or whether you are an immigration advocate that wants migrants treated humanely, are we where we need to be? And I'd say, submit to you, we are not. We have a long ways to go to create a modern, secure border. And I want to underscore the word secure. We in the United States should have a border where we know who's coming in. It ought to be a legal system. We in the United States should be able to have the technology on the border to keep the bad things out. And we know there's a lot of bad things that come across the border. So there's a lot of work that we need to do. I remember my days with Senator Ted Kennedy and Senator John McCain, working with President Bush on trying to figure out how we move forward with an immigration reform package that made sense. Well, it's been almost 40 years of effort, and we're not there yet. So when I meet with my Republican friends, Jimena, I tell them, where's your senator? Conversation with Mr. Nixon and with Jerry and the people of Texas. Does the Congress of the United States have the courage to do what they need to do? Which means significant investments in this border and securing our border. I want to bring that's a question. And it's a question on the table, question that we'll see play out in November into the lame duck into the next year. And I would submit to you, and what I really wanted to communicate to you, is we have to do it. A secure border means you know who's coming in and out. A secure border means you have the best technology so that you can detect migrants who are now being brought across from the land bridge of Central America, put into tractor trailers and hauled across more than 1,000 miles to the border. We need to have the technology. But as part of that, a secure border means we also need to do development on both sides of the border. And there is no one that knows that better than all of you who are here, because you care about it, you live it, you cross the border from one side to the other. And that's why what we do here is so important. That's why Nuevo Laredo, in my view, are the leading example. But it has to happen in other places. Colleen, Sandbag, doing a ribbon cutting. For the first time in history, there's going to be a very modern revenue sharing agreement. Anote mesa dos, la mesa de Ote. Query, are we doing enough on the green spaces around this new modern day crossing? Same thing for Juarez, for Santa Teresa, for all the other major initiatives that we have going on. Are we doing enough there? It's a question. In the meeting at the White House on July 12th, there was included in the statement by the presidents a very important paragraph on the border. And it includes the work that you're doing here today. So we have to make it real. But I want to come back and just ask for this assignment. You have some pieces of paper?
Around to the individual tables. Could I ask my colleagues from the U.S. Mission Mexico to please stand up for a moment? And we'll come around and pick those up. So these are cards. We'd ask you to share them. We don't have enough for everyone to answer the ambassador's questions. Very happy to collect. So,
okay. So first of all, I want the Mission Mexico people, Paul Gia, come up here. Steve, Zeppa, venga para acá. John Vance. So I'm fortunate to be ambassador of the United States of Mexico because I get to lead the #1 mission in the world. And these are the people who make it happen. So let's give them a round of applause. That's it. So I got to say, people think, they ask me about the best part of my job. It's the people I get to work with. And we're doing it in the southeastern part of Mexico with the 7 governors. We've been in 28 states. By 2 weeks from now, I think we'll have been in all 32. And we have a lot of action going on with the Mexican government at the federal level and also at the state level. And they're the ones who make it happen. So the assignment, as Steve was saying, you don't need to have a card like this. I hope you do. I want to just a recommendation. And then we'll collect it right here in 5 minutes. But here's what it ought to be. Start it with a verb, con no sé cómo decirlo en español, un verbo de acción, una palabra de acción. De acción de organización inmediata. How do we do this? 2,000-mile border. I'll give you an example. Direct the Nature Conservancy to do it and have Jerry Schwindel fund it. However you want, pero con un verbo de acción. Or is it Sila and Maria? Have them develop this 2,000-mile plan so it doesn't just depend on 2 mayors doing it. Or maybe they have too much on their hands because this water issue is huge right now. Or should it be, how do we do this? How do we organize ourselves? Okay, we're going to take 2 minutes. So, pero no pueden hablar porque this is like homework. Is it okay? It's homework. No los veo escribiendo, Pete. Ándenle. Oscar del Cuete, he's going to want to put it, he's going to put his 7, it's 7, here, limited to 10 words, with it starting with an action verb. And then if it comes out good enough, what we're going to do is we're going to put it on the side of Kansas City Southern as they take their bicentennial locomotive all the way throughout Mexico, the United States. So, unas 7 palabras. John, wait, let me see you right. Have you written yours? Okay, well, let me see. I'm going to walk around. Make sure you guys are doing your homework. He wrote the Constitution. He translated the Constitution from English to Spanish. So you can do this. Unas 7 palabritas. Lo pueden hacer en español, lo pueden hacer en inglés. Pero lo tienen que hacer. Okay.
Thank you.
This guy works at the State Department. Oh, yeah. He's here with me from day 1. We have a joint U.S.-Mexico plan for the first time in history. He's leading it. How about you guys? You are writing anything? Hey, Jerry, ¿por qué no estás escribiendo? Get your name down. Oh, it's all right. Yeah. You need a pen? Right? You're sharing? No, sharing. We want an independent idea. Look, if I was running the Imperial Irrigation District, you guys know about the Imperial Irrigation District? I visited them in 1990. It was a big drought in California. They own more water on the Colorado River for California than anybody else. And my good friend, Fernando Macias, is a general manager of the Imperial Irrigation District. So Maria, there's part of your solution to the Colorado River water problems. And you have $4 billion to work with him. ¿Qué piensa? ¿Ya me escribió algo? ¿Qué me escribió? No. El alcalde puede hacer, usted también tiene ideas. Agua rápido, agua es urgente. Pues, we got to take care of it, right? If we don't take care of it, we're in big trouble. Let me see. Jerry, what'd you write? Oh, by the way, you don't have to put your name on it. You don't have to put your name on it. This is anonymous. I mean, some of you could just say, like, don't do anything. It all está muy bien, déjalo solo. O está loco, no haga más. Whatever you want to say, there's no bad idea. All I know is that we don't have the good enough of an idea. I'm really interested to see what John writes. I already know he has practice in Tijuana and all those other projects that we were talking about. You know, he was telling me a story last night about the Great Lakes. It comes from the Great Lakes. So he was telling the story about President Nixon and the time of the 70s, where the president signed the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act. Truly, President Nixon, whatever you think of him, that era created the modern environmental movement in the United States of America. So John was telling us about the Great Lakes, how they smelled, how in a place near Toledo, the Great Lakes actually would catch on fire. This is the 70s. Well, things have changed. It's still not perfect, but we don't have those problems, and that they've been resolved to a great degree through technology and investment. Are we doing the same on the Rio Grande, on the Rio Colorado, on the Delta between the United States and Mexico, where I know the Nature Conservancy and others are working? Or have we not done what we got to do to create what we got to do along this border, along two of our major rivers? And then in between the rivers, by the way, if you go from Juarez down to Nogales, there's not a river there, but it's also a very beautiful place. Okay. Yeah, if you have your, lift up your papers. ¿Ya los tienen? Okay, let me see. Vamos a ver. Híjole, miren qué tesoro me llevo. All right. So let me see. I'll read just a couple of them. Make renewable all the energy used on the border. Somebody who signed it, I won't say who. 2 words with an exclamation point. Need money. Okay. Create a representative group from all states of the US and Mexico and establish a shared vision for improvements. Start with where there is agreement. Okay. Someone said to me, where was I? Last 36 hours. A few years ago, I think before 2018, that there was actually a governors forum where the governors of the United States, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California would get together with their counterparts on the Mexican side to work on all these issues. They don't do it anymore. Step back, I think. We got to do more of that. Anyway, I am going to take all of these letters or all these recommendations. I'm gonna have them written up. We'll take names off. So Pete, your very strong statement on what exactly you need, we will have your name attached to it. And then if it's okay, I would like to share, we'll just share it verbatim with Ambassador Moctezuma and with you. And you can then circulate it to everybody who's here. And then we'll continue to push this issue. I'm going to be up and down the border. I'm going to Tijuana, Tuotay Mesa to work on the collection system there on the Tijuana River. And I'm going there to celebrate the signing of the revenue sharing agreement. I'm going to Nogales, where there is a whole interest, doesn't involve your railroad, Oscar, but it involves the other railroad. I'm going to Chamizal and Juarez in the next several weeks. We're going to do a whole host of things there. I'm going to Big Bend National Park and spending some time there. We'll go down the border, McAllen, Reynosa, all the way to Matamoros. Then we keep lifting this up. Anyway, les aprecio mucho. Remember, modern, secure border, underscore secure, because you cannot have a secure nation if you don't have a secure border. Muchas gracias.
Next, I'd like to introduce Oscar Augusto de Cueto Cuevas to introduce the Mexican ambassador, Esteban Moctezuma. Oscar became president, general manager, and executive representative at Kansas City Southern de Mexico on August 1st, 2020. Before he became president, general manager, and executive representative, he served as vice president and director general. Mr. Del Cueto joined Kansas City Southern Mexico's predecessor, Transportación Ferroviaria Mexicana, in 1997. He has nearly 30 years of railway industry experience working in institutional relations, communications, operations, planning, and logistics. Please give a warm welcome to our sponsor, Kansas City Southern, and Oscar.
Buenos días. Lo voy a hacer en español. Sé que hay traducción y de parte de Kansas City Southern, de México y Kansas City Southern Lines, que aquí en los Estados Unidos es un placer estar aquí con ustedes y hacerles llegar un cordial saludo. La verdad es que es un honor para mí poder presentar al embajador Moctezuma y en primer lugar quisiera agradecer al Banco de Desarrollo de América del Norte, Calixto, John, gracias por invitación y a este foro y la organización de una reunión de tan alto nivel como la que hoy tenemos. Sé que servirá no solo para estrechar lo que son lazos, sino para generar ideas y prioridades para trabajar la integración ambiental de América del Norte. Así que hay muchos retos, pero sé que juntos vamos a poder hacer muchas cosas, no solamente con la participación de Kansas, sino de todos ustedes, como decía el embajador Salazar, con quien he tenido el gusto de compartir muchos foros, y siempre esa actividad, ese empuje que trae el embajador Salazar siempre será sin duda un líder para todos nosotros. Y bueno, estoy seguro de que grandes ideas y tareas van a resultar de esto, y para continuar con nuestro próximo punto de la agenda de hoy, tengo el honor de presentar a un querido amigo de Kansas City Southern y una de las principales figuras públicas de México, al embajador Esteban Moctezuma Barragán. El embajador Moctezuma fue designado embajador extraordinario y plenipotenciario de México en los Estados Unidos por el presidente Andrés Manuel López Obrador y fue ratificado por el Senado de México en febrero del 2021. Antes de convertirse en nuestro embajador, fue secretario de Educación en la actual administración y entre sus cargos gubernamentales, anteriormente se desempeñó como secretario de Desarrollo Social de 1998 a 1999, fue senador federal de la República de 1997 al 98, fue secretario de Gobernación del 94 al 95, fue subsecretario de Planificación y Coordinación Educativa de 1993 al 94. Sobre su rol en la sociedad civil, el embajador Moctezuma se desempeñó como presidente ejecutivo de Fundación Azteca del 2001 al 2018, promotor del sistema de orquestas sinfónicas infantiles y juveniles Esperanza Azteca, esto fue del 2009 al 2018, formador de jóvenes de excelencia del 2010 al 2018, promotor del programa para la conservación de áreas naturales protegidas, Que Viva la Selva Lacandona, del 2004 al 2018, entre muchos otros. La verdad es que sus actividades han destacado cada vez que participa el embajador Moctezuma. El embajador Moctezuma es licenciado en Economía por la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. También obtuvo una maestría en Desarrollo Económico de la Universidad de Cambridge en el Reino Unido y completó un curso sobre desarrollo regional en Tokio, Japón. Recibió el título de doctor honoris causa de la Universidad de Ciencias y Artes en Chiapas. Y como pueden ver, no estaba yo bromeando al principio cuando decía que el embajador Moctezuma es uno de nuestros mejores servidores públicos en México. Muchas gracias, embajador Moctezuma, por estar aquí. Esperamos poder compartir este foro con usted, integrándonos en un solo y unificado esfuerzo para trabajar juntos con nuestros dos países. Les pido un aplauso al embajador Moctezuma. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Oscar, for this presentation and for your kind introduction. I also want to thank Calixto Mateos, the Managing Director of NADBank. Thank you for organizing this important meeting and including in the invitation Ambassador Salazar and myself. Thank you, Ken, for your words and for your actions. I think that Mexico has a great American ambassador that is committed with the bilateral relationship in an everyday basis and with a very practical perspective of doing things. I think that Ken, it's a doer, and we appreciate very much your effort, Ken. Um, Joseph Henrich, professor of human evolutionary biology at Harvard, has devoted a lot of his work to understanding how culture drives human evolution. He writes that our human skills to share practices, values, and learn from others are the basis of our success as a species. I invite all of you to think about this for a minute because it means not only that we are better together, but that this is the only way to succeed. This knowledge is fundamental in these critical times and calls for collective, decisive measures and actions. Rapid changes in economic and sociopolitical landscapes are creating crucial decision-making points for our North American societies. The US-Mexico border is a constant reminder of our need to cooperate, and it's a living lab for discovery in areas critical to both of our nations. Contemporary narratives and media headlines many times talk about the border in very simplistic ways. Ordinary Americans and Mexicans hear single stories about the border that often fail to capture its complexities and its opportunities. Yes, the border is a customs and immigration checkpoint, but you all know it is way more than that. The border is not a picture, it's a motion landscape. The border is a site of trans-border trade, home to binational, bicultural, and bilingual communities, and also a symbol of our economic stature as a region. We share one of the largest and certainly the busiest borders in the world. Both countries manage and operate 56 ports of entry that handle 87% of our bilateral trade, which is equivalent to $1 million every minute. Furthermore, 1.5 million people, 425,000 vehicles, and 300,000 trucks cross the land border every single day. As we celebrate the bicentennial of our diplomatic relations, there are lessons of the past that we can guide us into the future. 50 years ago, in the summer of 1962, President Kennedy visited Mexico to showcase his new focus on Latin America and the highest point of the Cold War. At the National Palace luncheon, President Kennedy noted that as continents of the same great continent, we cannot meet our mutual needs in disarray, but working together, we can face the future with confidence, for there is much to be done in that future. Today, President Kennedy's words echo in our presence as the US-Mexico border faces a wide array of challenges and opportunities related to infrastructure, environment, productivity, and the movement of goods and people. In infrastructure, when we improve land border infrastructure, we increase the competitiveness in North America. That is why President Andrés Manuel López Obrador announced a very important investment of 1.5 billion on the border infrastructure between 2022 and 2024 on his most recent visit to the White House in July. Mexico and the US are working together on the implementation of 20 key infrastructure projects. One of our binational flagship projects is Otay Mesa East and Mesa de Otay Dos for 2024. And as Ken Salazar said, this is part of building a secure border. It will become the most modern and innovative crossing on the US-Mexico border, and its goal is to reduce a 2-hour crossing time to just 20 minutes. The other one is Laredo 45 project, which seeks to build a new international bridge in the Laredos region that facilitates the commercial flows crossing, which has a future growth perspective in the region. This is an example of how institutionalized dialogue transforms into real actions. The Laredo 4-5 project is a result of the successful and continuous high-level economic dialogue, which will take place next September 12th in Monterrey. Both projects contemplate the use of technology to stop gun trafficking into Mexico or drug and human trafficking into the US. Trusted travel programs, reversible lanes, and dynamic rates according to the crossing demand. In parallel to these projects, both governments are working on binational effort to expand and modernize the port of San Jerónimo, Santa Teresa. The crossing is relevant for the import and export of cattle between Mexico and the United States. And this port accounts also for the crossing of large columns, including wind blades for wind power. In 2021, San Jerónimo Santa Teresa port recorded exports of $11.6 billion and imports of $15.8 billion. Mexico and the US are also working together to promote smart, non-intrusive technology and inspection equipment such as the Unified Cargo Program, which reports a reduction in crossing times of more than 60% and reductions in operating costs of around 50%. Our border, is not only a historic circumstance, but a historic opportunity. Second, in economic productivity and movement of goods and people, the US-Mexico border is a front row witness to North American economic integration, first under NAFTA and now under USMCA. The busiest border persons crossing in the Western Hemisphere is in Tijuana-San Diego region. The Chaparral-San Isidro port of entry registers more than 30 million crossing per year. Furthermore, the World Trade International Bridge, located in the Laredos region, is the most important for our bilateral trade. Around 60,000 commercial vehicles cross the bridge daily with an annual trade value of $230 million. Throughout active coordination of our economic policies, we will make our supply chains more resilient and expand production in North America. Third and most urgent is sustainability. Cooperation and collaboration on the border must translate into a more sustainable border with attainable and tangible environmental results. The climate crisis is now a matter of the present. Addressing these issues today is the most truthful way to approach the future. The call for effective responses cannot wait. As all of us know, we are experiencing the driest 23-year period on record. To cite one example, in 2000, Lakes Mead and Powell, the two huge man-made reservoirs along the Colorado, were 95% full. By the end of this year, Lake Mead is projected to be 27% full, with the water level 45 feet below its 2020 level, while Lake Powell is forecast to close the year at 22% capacity, with a deficit of 70 feet below the level presented 2 years ago. To address the water shortage in the border region, the Mexican section of the International Boundary and Water Commission, also known as SILA, is working closely with the US counterparts, federal agencies, and local entities to coordinate delivery schedules, measure streams discharge, exchange data, and regulate deliveries. A clear example of what we can achieve when we work together happened in San Diego just a week ago. The act for 16 new infrastructure projects for sanitation of the Tijuana River was signed, a clear proof that one of our highest priorities is a sustainable, reliable, and shared future. Another instance is the Proactive Measures Group to review critical lake mead thresholds and water supply impacts at various levels. PMG has identified water conservation projects in Mexico that could save up to 222 million cubic meters in 22 and 23 in just 2 years, more than the water consumption of Mexicali in 1 year. In terms of investment, Minute 323 promotes U.S.-Mexico cooperation on the Colorado River through 2026. It provides US 31.5 million in water conservation projects in Mexico and requires water savings and reductions during low reservoir conditions such as the current drought. These conservation projects generate a volume of water for the system to benefit all users, thus helping to mitigate shortage conditions. It is also necessary to identify new water sources. Both sections of the IBWC are conducting a study to evaluate different projects in the Rio Bravo Basin that will allow the conservation of additional volumes of water to facilitate compliance with the treaty. To back up SILA's efforts, we can begin a new dialogue with NADBank to think of new investment schemes that may allow water conservation projects to take place. These critical times require governments to become more resilient. Adapting to the current condition is not just an option, it's a necessity. Many of us have heard those sayings that the next war in the world is going to be about water. I think that the biggest alliance in the present that we can do is precisely working about this issue, which is already present. It is important to remember what binds us together and the potential of working under a regional approach. As the African American writer Lucille Clifton wrote, we cannot create what we can't imagine. So let's share that common vision. Let's create that common vision. And I hope the notes that Salazar just collected will help us to do so. But if we want to reach stronger and more inclusive and sustainable reality, we need to be able to imagine it together. The recently adopted Inflation Reduction Act, for example, is a watershed moment for the sustainable future of the North American region. The tax credit for electric vehicles manufactured in North America is a huge step in the creation of a strong, competitive, and humane region. It's the first time that we can read in a tax credit that North America as a region is included. And this speaks of how this notion is becoming a reality. In Mexico, we are also doing our homework. At the Major Economies Forum on Energy and Climate, President López Obrador announced Mexico's commitment to reach the goal of producing 50% zero-emission vehicles by 2030. We want to work together as a region. This will allow us to generate the necessary incentives so that North American automobile companies that manufacture or assemble in Mexico begin to prioritize the production of hybrids and electric vehicles. Dear friends, we are on the edge of time. From this side, we have a clear view of what our next steps should be. We can create the future as we believe in. To achieve this, we have developed bilateral institutions such as NADBank to help us acquire resources and expertise to address our most important challenges. NADBank is an institution ahead of its time because now we can see how together the USA and Mexico can work to overcome very different problems we have together. And as President Kennedy also talked in Mexico about the power of a revolution, he said, not a revolution of force or fear, but a peaceful revolution which will demonstrate the creative capacity of democratic governments to maintain a society where social justice and economic progress are servants of the dignity of man. These ideas are perhaps more valid than ever. It is within our grasp to achieve a better future if we continue working together under a common regional vision. If we want to build a more competitive, innovative, and humanitarian North American region, the starting point is the border, and the time is now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Jonathan, if we could have both ambassadors please stand with Calixto. We're going to take a couple photos, and then we're going to move right into our next panel. If any other members of the press would like to come up to take pictures, they can. And now maybe the ambassadors can shake hands to show the friendship. And then lastly, just a token of our appreciation for being here, both ambassadors, just a little thing from San Antonio with the bank logo on it. For the members of the press, both ambassadors are going to be available to the media. That will be in the lobby of the bank. So if you'd like to make your way over there now, you can do that. Thank you.